Alright guys, we got another circle of fifths lesson. This is this part 6, I guess. And remember that this is cumulative and architectural, what we're doing, and we're building on previous knowledge. So if you don't have a good understanding of the first 5 lessons on my circle of fifths, then this is not going to do you any good. So make sure you have that stuff down. For example, this is what you should be able to do. And anybody who's a teacher of any kind needs to remember this, that your students aren't going to automatically retain everything that you tell them, even if they get it while they're sitting there. You need to review. Every part of every lesson needs to have lots of review in it. Okay? It took me a long time to learn that as a teacher. Once I finally did, I started getting a lot of results from kids and my adult students as well. Alright, you should be able to write your own circle of fifths. Here it is again. You should be able to, with just a plain sheet of paper, sit down and draw out the circle of fifths. You should also be able to tell me which or how many sharps or flats are in each key. Okay, remember these are the keys that we're in. You should be able to say E has 4 sharps, B has 5, and then so forth on the flats. Alright, and then you should also be able to tell me the sharps and flats that are in those keys in order. Okay? If we have the key of D and you go, oh, that has a C sharp and an F sharp, no, that's no good. You need to be able to say it in order. F sharp, C sharp, F, C, G, D, A, E, B is the order of the sharps. B, E, A, D, G, C, F is the order of the flats. Okay? That should become a reflex for you. So you have to practice that on a sheet of paper. Okay? Now here's the next question. And it's a big one. It's a pop quiz question. How come if we have 12 tones, 12 semitones in our music, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then when you get to C, it's a repeat of this C. So there are 12, okay? If there are 12 tones, 12 semitones, how is it that there are 15 keys up here? There are 15 keys we can play, but there's only 12. Shouldn't there only be 12 up here? Okay, take a minute to answer that question. Pause your video. Think about it. How can there be 15 keys to play but only 12 semitones? Because each semitone would be a key, right? How can there be 15 up here? Alright, here's the answer. Because you have enharmonic keys. 3 of them are enharmonic, or 3 have an enharmonic partner. Okay, remember when I did that? The key of B and C flat are enharmonic. Okay? The key of C sharp and D flat are enharmonic. That means they have the same sound, just a different way of writing it on paper. And that's the only difference, is how it's written out on paper. The sound of those 2 keys will not make any difference. Alright, and the last one is the G flat and F sharp. So if you only count those enharmonic ones one time, then you get 12 instead of 15, okay? 1, 2, 3, I won't count it out, but there's it reduces it to 12. Alright, so that's a question you should have been able to answer. Now, let's move. Oh, here's another thing you should be able to do, is tell me the formula, algebra, huh? Tell me the formula for producing a major scale. We did that in the last lesson, I think. And that formula is, drum roll, write it down. Okay, here's the answer. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. You start on any note, and we'll do a G. And you start on G and you go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That's the formula for a major key. I'm not going to go into detail again, but that's something you should know. That's the formula for starting on any one of these keys, any 15 of them, and producing a major scale. All complete with the flats and the sharps. You should be able to do that as well. I should be able to pick any key here and then say, okay, write the scale for that. And so you write out your letters. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And I say, okay, do it for A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat. You should be able to do it for any key. Easy one is C flat or C sharp, because they're all flat or all sharp on these 2. But anyway, you should be able to do that as well, the scale. Now, moving on. So we did a little review. If you had a lot of trouble, then that's a signal to you that you don't know the first lessons very well, and you're going to be in trouble. Just like when you're in your Algebra 2 class and all of a sudden you go, you know what, I have no idea what's going on. And you're totally lost. And, or chemistry was mine. I always got lost in chemistry. I did pretty good in algebra and all the, those kind of types of classes, calculus and so forth. Anyway, here we go. We know the scale. We're going to start with C. I always like to use C because C is neutral. Okay? It has no flats, no sharps, and it's a key we're familiar with, so we can understand a concept by starting with the key of C. Alright, so again, this is what I used to tutor in music theory. This is what you'd have in a music theory course. No, there aren't any books that lay it out like this in exactly what I'm doing it here. This is kind of what I've developed over years of doing this. So what do I have right here? You should be able to look at that and say, well, that's a C major scale. Okay, and it is. It's a C scale. And remember, the scale or the key we're in, that's the system we're in. Those are the notes we're going to pull from to make our music, to make our chords, to make our melody. It's our palette. It's our, if we're painting, we have those 7 letters. We're in the key of C, and we're going to use those and exclude all the black keys because we don't have any flats or sharps. So that's what it means to be in the key of C. So here is our foundational formula that we're going to use to do all kinds of fun stuff. All right? Now, what I did here, instead of writing regular numerals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, what I did was write Roman numerals because that's how you do it in music theory. Music theorists write in Roman numerals. They just do. That's just the way it is. Okay, so, and I have, look, a capital 1, lowercase 2, lowercase 3, capital 4, capital 5, lowercase 6, and this one's different. It's lowercase, but it also has a little circle there, which means it's a diminished chord. But it's still the same numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now let me tell you why the 1, the 4, and the 5 are capitalized. They are what we call, am I losing yet? Take a drink of coffee, slap yourself around a little bit, wake up. The 1, the 4, and the 5 are called the primary chords. You've ever heard somebody say, well, you can play pretty much any song with 3 chords. Well, they're right. Pretty much. Pretty much you can play any song with 3 chords. And when they say that, they're talking about 1, 4, and 5. And that's why we call that those the primary chords. And they are major chords as well. We'll get into that as well. But 1, 4, and 5. You've heard that? Well, I'm going 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. You do it in another key. So these are very important chords that we're going to use within the key. Okay, let's see, let's do just a little more, and I'm going to break this up into the next lesson. I don't want to do too much in one lesson. Alright, so these Roman numerals, the big ones are called major. Now I'll explain later what a major chord is, but just know that that's what I'm talking about, a major chord, and the lowercase ones are minor, except for the little dot that's called diminished. Okay, just memorize that language, and I'll explain further between major, minor, and diminished. The last thing I want to do in this lesson here is talk about the names. Oh, look, and I put it in red here for you. The capital M is the major. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Now, I could put any key up here now. If I'd had you write the key of B, and I erased all those letters and put B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, everything else would hold true. The 1 would be major, the 4 would be major, the 5 would be major. That's what a lot of people get messed up on, is that this formula is the same for any key. You can plug in the sharps and the flats for any of these keys and it'll all hold true. Major, minor, minor. It'll still be the same, which is very comforting. You should love that because it makes music a lot simpler. Okay, the 1 chord's always major. The 4 is always major. The 5's major. Okay, so that's what my red there. Now look at the top here. These are kind of advanced terms if you want to seem real smart in front of people and know your stuff. We call this the tonic chord. The 1 chord's tonic. Okay? And any key, if I put in a different key and I did the key of E, then E would be tonic. Okay? C's not always tonic. C's just tonic in the key of C in this system. Alright? I just put the key of C because it's the easiest one. The 2 chord is called the supertonic. Alright? Supertonic. ST. The 3rd one's called the mediant. Mediant is the 3 chord. It's always minor. The 4th one is the important. It's one of the primary chords. Okay, it's called the subdominant. But remember that 1, 4, and 5 are very important. subdominant, and then the 5 chord is called dominant. The 1 chord is the most important. The dominant would be maybe the second strongest, and then the subdominant is the 3rd strongest in our primary chords. This one's called the submediant. Remember, the 3 was the mediant, but the 6 chord, which is minor, is called the submediant. Alright, if you learn these things for this one key, it will hold true for all 15 of the others. Okay? Learn it for the key of C, and then it'll work for all 15. So the 6 chord is submediant. The 7 chord is diminished, and it's called the leading tone chord. Listen to this. You see why it's called leading tone, because when you get to a leading tone, you got to go up. It's just something in our souls just make us want to go up to that next. You can't end that. You got to go down. Any of the rest of the tones are okay, you know, to mess around. But when you get to B, you just want to go up. That's why it's called a leading tone, because it leads back to the C. I didn't put the the 1 because C would be next, right, in our scale. But the leading tone leads to 1. So that's the leading tone chord, and it's always diminished. Okay, we'll talk about later what major and minor diminished mean and how those chords are formed. But what I want you to get here is to realize these terms: tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediant, leading tone, and also these major, minor, minor, diminished. Okay, we don't have to know what they mean yet in this lesson, but be able to understand what I'm talking about. Where they go in the boxes there. Okay, so that's enough for this lesson. Let's do part 7 and continue.